Hello everyone, this is King Gratz here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I got another video for end of season analysis for the NHL's Stanley Cup Playoffs. This is, I think, the second video I'm now doing today, so I'll see. Of course, please check out my other videos on this topic in case if you're interested in seeing all this. But in continuation of this little series I've got going on, I'm going to be investigating another NHL team that has been eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs happening last night. This time it is the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota was officially, if you go by time, the first team in the Western Conference to be eliminated from Stanley Cup playoff contention as they were defeated by Vegas Golden Knights, who defeated them in 6 games in their first round series. And it was a very interesting series. I think it probably was maybe a little bit underrated considering that it was maybe longer than what some people were anticipating, or maybe it should have gone longer. But overall, it was definitely entertaining if you watch the highlights, and let's talk about it. So, like in my other videos, I'm going to be going through an analysis of the Minnesota Wild this season and how things went on for them, and especially how this series in particular just didn't go their way. So, of course, like always, if you enjoy this type of content, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content if you like this, and without further ado, let's get into it. So, to begin with Minnesota, this season was definitely one of those years where they couldn't make a lot of changes. They missed the playoffs last year and things were looking tough. They really could not make much changes because of the fact that they're still in salary cap hell. Most of you probably are familiar with the fact that they're still dealing with those heavy buyouts to guys like Ryan Suter and Zach Parise that happened a couple years ago. I think this is actually the last time that the Wild are going to be paying out most of the buyout money to Parise and Suter, and the cap hit for those two guys are going to go down significantly. So who knows what's going to happen in the offseason. But before I jump ahead into conclusions, let's look at this year. For Minnesota, they had a significant improvement. They looked very good to start the year. They were getting really good production from all over the lineup. They probably had one of the deeper center cores in the entire Western Conference with Kirill Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson Ek, Marco Rossi. They were really good, getting very good production out of most of their forwards. On the defensive end, they were still getting very consistent work out of guys like Brock Faber, Jonas Brodin, and etc. And on the goaltending side of things, this was the final season of Marc-Andre Fleury, who officially announced his retirement in the middle of the season, and he is now officially hung up his skates. And Philip Gustafsson, of course, being the main goaltender in this tandem, and he was, of course, given a lot more responsibility this season. You know, things were going really well for Minnesota. Things were like looking all sunshine and buttercups for them, but then unfortunately they got into a rough patch of play where games were inconsistent. They were struggling, kind of a middling team, and that did cost them some good playoff position. They were also dealing with injuries to guys like Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek, and they had to go through those injuries for a good duration leading up to the trade deadline and past that. They didn't make many moves, I believe, at the trade deadline, so they mostly stood pat. But things were still going pretty well for them, and ultimately they finished in the regular season with the best record of the wildcard teams in the Western Conference, and the reward is playing the Vegas Golden Knights, who won the Pacific Division. And looking at how things went in this series, it was kind of like I could say it could have gone either way. The first game obviously wasn't great. The Wild lost 4-2, but then they had two really big wins in games 2 and 3 where they won, I think 5-2 in both of them, and they were looking pretty good. Things were definitely moving forward. They were going pretty nicely, and then Vegas started working their way back. If you saw my earlier season analysis video for this playoff series, I was noting how the Golden Knights were driving most of the offensive play. They were getting a lot of good shots, mostly in the mid-range and up close and personal. But for Minnesota, they were really kind of taking advantage of Adin Hill, who was not doing very well for Vegas to start this series. He was giving up a lot of goals, probably ones that he probably should have had. and it was burning Vegas early on, and it looked like that there may have been an upset in the making after Game 3. Unfortunately for Minnesota, things kind of came off the rails a little bit as Vegas' stars really came through. Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Shea Theodore, all of them really stepped up big, especially once we get to Game 6. And of course, a little bit of luck was a factor here in this series, with Minnesota losing an overtime game to Vegas that really could have shifted the series in favor of Minnesota in Game 4, and Vegas really just took the series from there on. Then they were getting really good play out of their offense. Philip Gustafson was doing a good job in goal for Minnesota. Unfortunately, things kind of got away a little bit. He ends up finishing this series actually with a pretty good record. His goals against average is one of the better of the teams that got eliminated in the postseason. His save percentage is .913, so he's got pretty good numbers. He did start in all the games, but if you think about it, Minnesota, it was just a matter of, I think, just luck for this team, because they were getting everything that they needed. They were getting good work from their defense, they were getting good work from their offense, from all over the lineup. They had good goaltending. I think just maybe Vegas kind of overpowered them. Many people were expecting them to win that series anyway, considering the Knights at full strength were probably the more talented roster, and that they probably would have overpowered them offensively. And that's just kind of how things rolled, right? And for Minnesota, it's a good run. Obviously, you probably would have expected more out of this group, but I think the real watershed moment would be this offseason, when the Wild are going to get a lot of cap space. I would be very interested to see what they do in the offseason now that their GM Bill Guerin is actually going to get some good space to work things out and actually tinker with the roster this time. And there's a good chance that Minnesota could very well go and big game hunting for this free agency, and it would be interesting to see who exactly they pick up, and they could really change the shape of this roster and the identity of it as a whole. I'm not expecting them to make much changes from a coaching side of things. I think John Hines has done a decent job for them and has definitely helped the team get back on track. I think really for Minnesota, the big thing is looking at what they're going to do in the offseason to get themselves better, and how are they going to move forward from this. I think that's really the only thing you could really say about this team right now. But I'm going to keep it really short here, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. For Vegas, they will move on, and of course, this is a spoiler for my next series, but they're going to play the Edmonton Oilers in round number 2. And of course, I'll be making a video on the Oilers-Kings series in a little bit of time, so just give me some time to get that up and running, and I'll get that up soon. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content if you like this one, and I'll see you all in the next video.